Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here. Today I'm going to show you a simple way to incorporate floral dies into your scrapbook pages, and I'll share some design tips along the way. I'll be working with the May Hip Kit today called Vintage Memories. This kit features muted tones and unique patterns that are perfect for delicate floral layouts. The main kit includes your pattern paper and a generous selection of embellishments, which I'll walk you through in a moment. You can also grab the coordinating cardstock kit, which includes double-sided sheets. The cardstock complements the pattern papers perfectly. It is solid on one side and patterned on the other. Now, my favorite part of this kit is definitely the embellishments. We've got puffy shapes, foam stickers, puffy alphas in a classic navy, deep blue, almost black, vellum stickers, fabric die cuts that are tags and labels, cardstock shapes, and a variety of vintage tags and labels. Today's layout will also feature a floral die set, and I'll share that with you in a minute. As always, you'll find a list of the supplies I'm using in the description below, along with my discount code for the Hip Kit shop. You can always use what you have on hand, but if something catches your eye, you know where to find it. We're going to start by creating the background. Using the cardstock from the kit, I cut several flowers with the dainty blooms and leaves dies. I use this larger flower here, but there are several floral shapes in the set that you can play with. To keep everything organized, I sorted the die cuts by color. I'm going to start in the center with yellow and build outward from there. Before adhering anything down, I used a center ruler to draw a pencil line on my background cardstock. You could also use low-tack tape, a magnetic ruler, or eyeball it if you prefer. I did save the petal pieces because I wanted to show you how you could use them to fill in the flowers if you didn't want all this white space. You could use the same color of petal or a lighter or darker hue. Now I'm going to plan the spacing for the rest of the background. These flowers are roughly 1 1/4 to 1 1/2 inches in diameter, and I'm going to space these rows about a 1/2 inch apart. I'm going to start on the outside and draw some pencil lines from each side. I forgot to mention that the background cardstock has been trimmed down to 11 1/4 inches, and later I'll add some pattern paper behind it for a frame. I'm arranging the florals in rainbow Roy G. Biv order, but you could change this up to a monochromatic, complementary, or even triadic palette. I mentioned earlier that you could fill in your petals with the negative pieces from the die cut. If you enjoy mixed media, you could add that to the background as well. I prefer to have some white space on my page. Let's pause a moment because I want to share this design tip with you. Leaving white space or negative space in your layout has big impact. It's the space that's untouched, and it's used in design for multiple reasons. It creates breathing room, reduces distractions, and naturally draws the eye to a specific area of the page. That's how I'm using the white space on this layout. The lines of flowers are vertical going down to where my photo sits. This draws the eye to the space where I want the viewer to focus. I'm also going to leave plenty of room around the photo to avoid excess clutter and distractions. All right, I'm going to finish this up and let everything dry. Then I'll erase my pencil lines and show you how I'm going to fill in these petals. I'm adding stitching because, as you know, it's something that I love to do. There are a few ways that you could add stitching detail to this background. You could do a straight line of stitching, either a chain stitch or a basic stitch. This time, instead of adding stitching in straight lines, I'm adding petal details to the flowers. To do this, I'm using a die release tool. This is what I use to remove my paper from metal dies. I'm going to pierce stitching holes from the center of each flower out to the petal edges. You can make these different sizes. You can vary the length and direction and the number of stitches for a more organic look. All right, I'm going to finish this part of the project and then I'll show you what it looks like with the stitching. How pretty is this? I just used 4 strands of embroidery thread and I added stitching in the colors that match each flower to complete the design. The result is simple, delicate, and really brings those florals to life. Now let's bring in that photo. I'm using a lovely black and white image of our daughter that was taken by Wiggle Photography. I love how the black and white photo pops against that colorful background. To create a cluster behind the photo, I have pulled in some embellishments from the May kit. My rule of thumb is to start with 3 main colors that support the photo. Since my background already has every color, I'm going to choose some softer tones. I want to use a couple of fabric tags to bring in that texture. This one here has a nice blue area, and this one has some beautiful florals. Off to the side, I'm going to place a journaling label, and I'm going to extend this with another fabric piece. At this point, I have a lot of harsh 90-degree angles that I want to soften a bit. So I'm going to tuck this scallop label over here on the left. I think this is a good start. I'm going to adhere these in place. All right, now that these are down, I'm going to bring in the title. I'm going to use a foam sticker that says "You Are Special." The gold on this foam piece beautifully coordinates with the gold eyelets on the tags, and it forms a nice visual triangle around my photo. To frame this photo, I debated on adding some bold colored flowers, but I feel like this competes with the background and draws your eye away from the photo. Instead, I'm going to opt for a black and white rose. This complements the photo without distracting from it. To ground my photo, I'm going to bring in a delicate vellum sticker. This is going to add some more yellow to my page. Now, I should have done this before I put down the title, but I didn't press that foam sticker in place, so I can just pop it up real quick. These vellum stickers are delicate, so take your time. I find that my fingers are way too big, so I have to use a few tools to help me put these in place. For added texture, I die cut a few mint green leaf shapes, similar in color to the title. I'm snipping them apart and I'm going to tuck them in place to echo the florals in the background. My final step is to mount this whole piece onto some floral pattern paper from the May kit. This is called Snapshot. I'm going to adhere this in place and then I'll share the finished design with you. So here is my finished layout. I added some machine stitching around the border to frame everything and finish it off. The fabric tags came with some twine. Rather than tying bows, I simply wrapped the twine around the top, adding texture without extra bulk. Today I showed you how to use die cuts to create a bold floral background, and I shared some design tips about using white space and creating balance in a design. You also learned how to add detail and texture with stitching and layered embellishments. I hope this project inspired you to try something new with your floral dies. I want to thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this project, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this with your crafty friends. If you have any questions, feel free to post those in the comments below. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.